Hello everyone. The novel I'm going to talk about now is super captivating. The female protagonist, Zoe, is taken care of by her boyfriend, Warner. After getting hurt, Warner confesses and wants to be with her forever. However, Zoe, due to her history of depression, is afraid of dragging Warner down and decides to leave. Meanwhile, Warner is determined to follow Zoe, even to Denver. What's more, Zoe's mother shows up with family secrets from the past. It turns out that Zoe's family has a complicated historical connection with the werewolf community. How will these contradictions develop? Please join me in unveiling the mystery of this novel. Part 68. Zoe, how are you doing? He asks, his voice laced with concern. I take a moment to assess my condition, cataloging each ache and pain. Sore. Some of the cuts sting. Tired, I reply, attempting a shrug that sends a jolt of pain through my body. I stifle a groan, but Warner's furrowed brow tells me he caught it anyway, before he can slip into his overprotective mode. I quickly, but am happy. Happy. His eyebrows shoot up in surprise, and I find myself wishing I had the strength to reach out and trace their perfect arch. I nod, wincing slightly at the movement. It could have been worse, but it'll heal. Plus, my brothers are here, and you're here. So yeah, I'm happy. I pause, then ask, can you help me change? Warner's eyes roam over my face, no doubt cataloging every bruise and cut. His gaze is intense, filled with a mixture of concern and something deeper. Then, he leans down and places a feather, like kiss on the tip of my nose before moving out of my line of sight. You want the loose flannel ones. I hear the sound of drawers opening. Sure. I quit. Unable to resist teasing him even in my battered state. Anything to help you keep it in your pants. He snorts, a rare sound of amusement from my usually composed partner. Then HES by my side again, gently helping me sit up to remove my tattered shirt. I can't help but pout when he doesn't even glance at my exposed chest. See, they're not even on and you're already uninterested in half, without clothes me. I grumble playfully. Warner kneels before me, his fingers working their way up the buttons of the flannel shirt. He pauses at my words, and when I look down to meet his gaze, I'm struck by the intensity in his eyes. They're almost entirely black, a sight that sends a shiver down my spine despite injuries. Never think that I am uninterested in you, Zoe. Never. A shiver sneaks through me that has nothing to do with the fact that my shirt is half open. I reach up to twirl a strand of his black hair around my finger. How do you feel about putting banging back on the menu? That finally gets a grin out of him, but Warner shakes his head and finishes with the buttons. You're evil, he informs me. A wicked temptress. Sounds like the perfect partner for a werewolf. I keep my voice low even though there's a door in between my words and my brother's. Warner chooses not to respond, and he slips off my torn pajama pants with efficient hands, then has me covered again seconds later. Under the covers, temptress. He pulls the blankets back for me. Are you staying? I try to keep the vulnerability out of my voice as I crawl up the bed. Do you want me to? Yes. I respond almost before he finishes his question. Warner toes off his boots, hangs his jacket over a chair in the corner, then climbs onto the mattress beside. Which. He keeps his jeans on and lays on top of the covers. Before I can direct him to take his pants off and actually get in bed with me, he curves his body around mine, becoming the perfect big spoon. Can I ask you something? His question brushes against my ear, bringing warmth and the smell of him. With all the questions I'm always throwing at you. I think you're do. Warner chuckles, and I love the feel of the vibration against my back. Bram, Byron, Carver, Donovan, Zoe. Do you have 19 more siblings wandering around Denver? A goofy smile spreads across my face. Mom liked the ABC idea, but after 5 kids she said she was officially done. Skipping to the end of the alphabet was her way of making that point, and getting her tubes tied. I expect Warner to snort, or maybe start chuckling again, but he stays silent. and the quiet makes me curious enough to turn. When my eyes catch on Warner's face, I read a mixture of amusement, bafflement, and an eerie level of focus. I want to meet your mom. Really? You want to meet more of my family? Even after them. My fingers flick toward the bedroom door. Warner gazes at me, and again, surprises me when he doesn't immediately offer up a joke. Instead, he murmurs a determined yes. The one word leaves me reeling, and I answer with the first thought that comes to my mind. I don't think she'll come to Pine Falls. She's never been back since she left. His mouth struggles against a frown, and eventually he leans in to press a gentle kiss against my forehead. Well, figure it out. Time for you to sleep. I'll ask more questions later. Part 16 Scene Warner. I wait until she's asleep before sliding away. Before I even leave the bedroom, I know that all of Zoe's brothers are still awake. Discovering their sister broken and bleeding had to be a shock. It takes time for that to wear off. When I walk down the hall into the main room, first sets of eyes focus on me. The Gunner boys are gathered around the kitchen table, each one clutching a hand of cards, and the two I think are Byron and Carver have beers beside them. How's she doing? Abraham throws out the question, sounding almost angry about having to ask it. More like having to ask me. She's sleeping. I want to be back with her, lying close in that bed, making sure that each one of her precious breaths is still coming. But I have questions. I wish I didn't. The answers probably aren't going to help warm them to the idea of Zoe staying in Pine Falls. Has anyone been by the cabin? Other than Courtney and me. Every brother frowns, and Abraham stands from his chair. Why? I shake my head. It's just a thought. Anyone have a flashlight? The youngest brother moves from his seat and pulls open a closet, coming up with a heavy-duty flashlight. And I head for the back door. Byron. Carver. Stay here. Donovan with me. Abraham hands out the orders like the brothers are their own military unit. I get the sudden sense that Zoe's oldest brother would get along with mine. Or Roderick might murder him. It's a fine line when you have two personalities so similar. The two Gunners follow me out into the yard. Damp ground gives slightly under my feet, and I silently curse the evening rains we've been getting. The water washes away helpful scents that might normally have clung. When we come upon the wreckage of the treehouse, I fight the urge to sprint back to the cabin to make sure Zoe is still breathing. What was once a sturdy structure is now a crumpled mess. What's left of the frame lays on its side, but mainly the ground is covered in broken pieces of wood. The little house exploded on impact, and Zoe was trapped inside. Despite the rain, her scent lingers, but not the enticing sweetness of maple. What I pick up transports me back to that night on the back road, when she thought she was dreaming. I shine the light over the boards, settling on a section with red stains. Her blood. I can't fully stifle the growl crawling out of my throat, but am at least able to mute it to something more human-sounding. What are you looking for? The youngest brother, Donovan, asks, coming up beside me, his eyes blank even as his fists clench. I suck in a few deep breaths, pulling on my sanity and moving the light in search of a few particular pieces of wood. When Zoe first told me she was climbing up in the treehouse, I was worried it was stable. Big fucking help. Your worries. Abraham scoffs. I round on him, the growl coming again. He flinches but doesn't back away, scowling at me. Seems I need to remind you this happened on your watch. He bares his teeth and opens his mouth, but Donovan cuts him off. Why are we out here now? You thought it wasn't stable. It was. End of story. No, not the end. I reign in my anger. Because I was worried. I checked it over. The whole structure. Even climbed up in it and tested it myself. The beams were solid. Nothing should have knocked it down without a hell of an effort. Definitely not your sister just stepping in it. The two men remain quiet, but I feel their eyes on me as I pick through the wreckage. Finally, I find what I'm looking for. One of the main support beams. The wood is cracked near in half. If that happened just because of weight, the red be splintering at the fracture. But the break is clean. Someone cut this. I offer the wood for their examination. Fuck, Donovan mutters. Even in the dim light, I can see the rigid set to Abram's entire face. You think someone tried to hurt Zoe on purpose? He asks. My hands clench on air, wanting to tear into something just at the thought. I don't know, but I'm not seeing any other reason for someone to take us all to the treehouse. The three of us search through the rest of the wood pieces, finding another with similar cuts. We bring them back to the house with us and read the finding to the other gunner boys. So we talk to the cops. Right. I nod, but the gesture is only meant to placate them. The cops in this town are either useless, or they're wolves. If this was some trouble between humans, then the cops would have to handle it. But Zoe is mine. That makes this wolf business. Roderick is the one who needs to be informed. He's the one who will help me hunt down whoever is out to hurt the woman I love. Let the gunners go to the cops if it makes them feel better. The human police are good for handing out speeding tickets or breaking up a brawl at a bar. There's not a detective amongst them. The wolves on the force are smarter, but they'll soon know this is pack business and keep it off the books. Whoever has been tormenting my mate will answer to a different set of laws. Abram, who's been planning his trip to the station the next morning, cuts off his words abruptly when the bedroom door creaks open. Zoe wanders out, her eyes heavy with sleep, hair an adorable mess around her bruised face. She takes in our gathering, eyebrows curving up when she finds the five of us examining her. The oldest gunner is the first to speak. What's wrong? Are you okay? Are you bleeding? What do you need? She twists her lips in a smirk before answering. I need to pee. Did you all want to help me with that? Abram clears his throat, a red flush spreading over his cheeks. Do you need help? Zoe leans against the wall, staring at her older brother. Then suddenly, like the sunrise has come early, a smile splits across her face, threatening to blind us all. Don't ever change. Bam bam. She turns toward the bathroom, calling over her shoulder. Fair warning. Anyone who tries to barge into the bathroom while I'm using it is getting a swirly. She shuts the door with a definitive click. I'm the first one to chuckle. Then Carver breaks into loud, snorting laughter, while Donovan covers a wide grin with his hand. Abram has taken on the color of a strawberry, but also seems to be fighting a smile, while Byron rolls his eyes and deals another hand of cards. You want in, biker boy? The guy asks as he pauses in the process of DIVing them out. The offer is tempting, possibly an olive branch. A door cracked so I could pull it wider and find a place in the Gunner family. For a second, I consider saying yes. I want Zoe's brothers to like me, to accept me, but the sound of a toilet flushing and water running filters through the walls. In a moment, Zoe will be back in her bed, and there's nothing I want more than to be near her. Rain check. I'm going to stay with Zoe. The four sets of eyes all come to me again. But it's only Abram who speaks. That's the right choice. Part 70 Zoe. I pull into a parking spot beside the picnic area, making sure to give Warner's bike a wide berth. Driving a stick shift with a broken wrist and a sore ankle is not the easiest thing in the world. Just as I turn off the engine, Warner is at my door, frowning at me through the window. Should you be driving? I tug on the handle, and he steps back enough to let the rusted door swing open before moving in close again. Not sure. Didn't break any traffic laws on the way here. Though, wanna help me down? I extend my good hand, but Warner leans in to scoop me up in a damsel in distress carry. Arguing seems useless, but I do grab onto the armrest before he can walk us away. Wait, there's burritos. He chuckles, tilting me back into the cab of the truck so I can grab the paper bag. Good to go. He asks, yep. Warner uses his booted foot to kick the door closed, then walks with me toward a picnic table. Normally, I don't like being babbied, but my ankle hurts even after 2 days of icing and elevation. Plus, this way I get to wrap my arm around shoulders and fiddle with the strands of hair that curl over his ears. They hang lower today, pressed flat no doubt by the hard hit HS had on all morning. A light layer of dirt coats his skin, broken only by trails wet traced down his face and neck. Your arty. I use my pointer finger to draw it whirl in the dust on his collarbone. He swallows, his normally smiling mouth pulling into a grimace. That's when I remember how sensitive he was about his grime at the mechanic shop. I didn't mean to insult him. I was only making an observation. Just as we reach the table, I stop him from putting me down by gripping his chin and capturing his mouth with mine. He groans, deep in his chest, his lips parting enough to allow me entry. My affectionate assault continues for a good minute or so before I end with quick kisses to the corners of his mouth and the tip of his nose. Do you know what I think about when I see you covered in dirt? He shakes his head, brow dipped warily. I let all the heat in my thoughts shine from my eyes. I imagine what you'll look like later, when you get home, and step in the shower. The image is clear in my mind, the water cascading over his broad shoulders, coursing down his bare skin. How would let mind an invite when it comes time to get you clean? Fuck. Zoe. Warner moans, sitting down on the bench with me in his lap. He buries his head in my neck, partially muffling his next words. You can't be saying things like that when I have to go back to work. I'm going to be sporting a partial for the rest of the day. Laughter bursts from my chest, and I pat his head as if he needs consoling. Poor werewolf. I'm sorry. I promise to pretend like I don't want to soap you up. He makes some adorable grumbling noises before giving me a gentle bite and pulling back. Besides, it'll make for a poor shower companion with my arm wrapped in plastic. I hold up my cast but regret the joke the moment I take in Warner's face. Like my brother's, he seems to think my fall is somehow his fault, which is ridiculous. I'm the one who kept climbing up in the decades old treehouse, but I remind myself that if any of them were injured in a freak accident, I'd also be upset, knowing they were in pain. So I forgive their hovering. For now, burrito time. And don't worry, even though it broke my vegetarian heart, I got you one with beef. He smiles with a playful curve to his lips, joy pouring from his eyes. I guess Warner loves burritos. Sliding off his lap, I place the bag on the table and start pulling out all the sides. You know, Warner trails off, hesitating. How will I be sure if I know unless you finish your sentence? My shoulder bumps his, and he chuckles, nuzzling his nose into my hair in the animalistic way he has. What I was saying is, well, this isn't the first time you've given me food, so. I unwrap my burrito and take a bite, chewing for a moment as I consider his comment. Then I balk in horror, swallowing dramatically. You're not trying to give me those meat jars back, are you? Because that's a done deal. Warner grins, and the sigh teases a tight ball in my chest that formed when he hesitated. No, those meat jars are mine. Don't worry. He bites into his burrito, chewing slowly and damping up my curiosity. Finally, he swallows, not looking at me. He finishes his thought. Exchanging food is part of the mating ceremony werewolves perform. So gifting it indicates that you want to mate. You mean have sex. I'm confused. Like, we wouldn't have done it if I hadn't given you the meat jars now. Warner chokes on a laugh, but he calms down quickly, gazing down at me. There's a hopeful glint in his eyes, and for some reason the sight has me tensing up. A mate is a partner. Mating is like our version of marriage, but it's stronger. There's an element of magic to it. We're bound to our mate. We stare at each other. Him searching, me baffled. Mating. Marriage. Wait, I set down my food and clutch my head in my hands, trying to get my thoughts to stop their swirling. The meat jars were like an engagement ring. Did I propose to you? No, Zoe. No, it's not like that. Especially because you didn't know. Then what are you saying? Imnati cuts himself off, and firms his mouth. I am saying something. Warner's focus on me intensifies. I want to be your mate. Part 71. Zoe, oh God. This is it. Commitment. The future. Life choices. Pine Falls is supposed to be temporary. Warner stares at me, face slack as if I slapped him. Guilt rushes through me. That was the worst response that could have popped out of my mouth. The worst, but also the truth. He regains control over his expression, entreating me with his amber eyes. That was before you came here, right? Before we met. Hell, Zoe, I'm gone for you. I can't be the only one feeling this way. He fits his hand over his heart, and I know exactly what he means. The affection I have for Warner is more than I've ever experienced towards someone outside of my family. It's hard to believe it came on so fast. That in just a few weeks this man wound himself around my heart. He dug his claws into it, and I'm afraid of the pain that will accompany prying that grip loose. Hopefully, I won't have to. You're not the only one. I'd pick at a corner of foil on my forgotten burrito. A minute ago, I was half starved. Now the idea of food makes me nauseous. Then stay. You already have the cabin, and friends, and me. All you have to do is change your plans. Please. Zoe Warner cups my elbows and rests his forehead against mine on this. From the strain of his voice, a bystander would think I have a knife in his ribs and that I'm twisting it. The feel of him surrounding me is tempting, but I'm not one to lose my head, even if I have lost my heart. And when I think of staying here, with the risk of that darkness crashing over me again while I'm out in the middle of the woods, alone without the safety net of my family, alone like Minnie, I'll drown. Panic chokes me. I swallow, then swallow again, trying my best to stifle tears that press against the back of my eyes. This was an experiment. Turns out it was a failed one. Selling my grandma's cabin doesn't have to mean the end of us. I whisper hoarsely. His fingers briefly dig into my skin, but they relax before he hurts me. What are you saying? Ganber into the sentence. Couples do long distance all the time. Warner physically flinches at that suggestion, leaning away from me and shoving up from the table. Then he starts to pace, an anxious energy buzzing off him. No, my kind can't do long distance. Going days, even weeks without seeing you, without touching you. His fingers tangle in his hair as a frustrated growl leaks from the back of his throat. Being separated from my mate would be torture. There's that word again. Mate. It's heavy, hanging between us. Something he expects from me. Something I don't even understand. I probably never will. Maybe this is why there's a separation between the human and wolves of Pine Falls. We don't follow the same rules. And with his dismissal of my compromise, the one bit of hope I had withers. I don't want to torture you. I know what mental turmoil is, and the idea it'd be the catalyst for Warner's brings on a wave of self-disgust. So even as the words make my stomach churn and my throat tighten, they still find a way out. Maybe you should mate someone else. Warner stops pacing, staring at me like in the embodiment of a horror movie. With the first sentence done, I hope the rest won't cut as much. I'm not a local. I'm not a wolf. You're talking about forever. And I haven't even figured out what's happening in my life next week. You deserve better than me. Warner. Someone who knows where she belongs. Someone who will be a good mate. Nope. That all still hurt. I don't want anyone else. Maybe not today. I pray that time really does heal all wounds because I am torn open and bleeding. Stop it. He goes on his knees beside me, and am shocked to realize tendrils of black are overtaking the gold of his eyes. Stop telling me how I'll feel. I don't need some wolf for a girl that grew up here. I need you. I want to take back everything I just said. Tell him that I need him too. And a vision of the empty cabin flashes through my mind. The rooms Minnie spent her final years in, with no company but that lonely stereo. Suddenly, I can see into forever. My future, if I stay here, is just me, slowly collapsing into myself. My brothers are overbearing, but they also keep me sane. They're who I need. Without their unswerving love, they'll fade away. And Warner deserves more than a drowning ghost. I stand up from the picnic table, trying not to wobble. He moves with me, hands going to my waist. I don't know if HES steadying me or restraining me. Don't go. Stay here. Choose me. Rough growls color his pleading. I shake my head. I can't. I never planned to stay. Plans can change. Just because they can, doesn't mean they should. Lunch is over. This was supposed to be a casual date. Me spending time with the guy I like. So Navi. I knew letting myself be around Warner would cause problems. HES too lovable for me not to have fallen for him. And I have. Fallen, that is. My heart will break. I can already feel the cracks splintering through me. I have to trust that with the support of my family I'll survive. Because I will have them. In Denver I'll always have them. Not like here. Stepping over the bench with a messed up ankle makes a smooth exit difficult. My toe catches on the wood. And I stumble. Warner catches me. Of course. More cracks spider web across the surface of my heart as I soak in the warmth of his hold. This is the part in the movies where the couple has a final kiss. A farewell. But if I let myself taste him, it'll lose my nerve. It'll stay. And then it'll disappear. So I press my palms flat against his chest, applying enough pressure to make my intentions clear. He listens to the silent request, falling back a step, hands hovering palms up, waiting for me to return to his embrace. Thank you for caring for me, I say, turning to my truck. I don't just care for you, Zoe, coward that I am. I keep my eyes forward, wishing I could run, but then my ankle would give out, and Warner would come after me, and I might do something horrifying like cry in his arms and beg forgiveness and promise that I'll stay. So I walk away at a normal pace, but I don't look back. Part 70 to Zoe. Cruising around to clear my head is difficult when I'm driving a stick shift and my right wrist is broken and my left ankle is bruised. After stalling out for the third time at a stop sign, I turn the headlights toward home. Well, Grandma Minnie's cabin. I don't feel like I have a home anymore. Warner had started to take on the qualities of a home. When I was lost, I wanted to be where he was. When anxiety made my shoulders tense and my back ache, he was my comfort. When I hesitantly thought about the rest of my life, he was there. Not anymore though. When I pull up the drive, the house is lit up. The porch lights revealing my four brothers lounging in the rockers I'd restored. Each one of them has a different instrument. They don't seem to be playing yet. When I shut off the engine and step out into the cool night, I catch a few experimental twangs tuning up. They're all focused on their instruments until I step into the pool of porch light. Then, as if attached to the same puppet strings, each one tenses and leans forward. What's wrong, Zoe? Asks Donovan. You've been crying. Abraham homes in on my face. I brush fingers along the tops of my cheeks, finding the HES correct. Bet my eyes are a puffy red mess. Was it Warner? Glitter or no? Well, go fuck his shit up. Carver is already standing, setting his fiddle to the side. Knew we were going to give him a beatdown at some point, Byron says, as if compelled to add his voice to the barrage. An uncomfortable wave of affection and resentment crashes over me. I love my brothers, but sometimes the only thing I need is for them to shut up. Just leave it alone. I mutter, heading for the front door. Not going to happen. Tell us where he is. Abraham steps toward me, all menacing and tall, as if I would ever give in to his intimidation tactics. Instead, my good hand slaps against his chest, attempting to shove him, but barely managing to make him rock. I don't need you to fight for me. I've done a good job of breaking him all on my own. I choke on the last bit, and whirl toward the front door, hoping to make it to the bedroom before the inevitable flood of tears returns. But my way is blocked. Mom. She stands there, tall and steady, blonde hair braided away from her face, a sad smile on her lip. Hi, sweetheart. The next thing I know, I've got my arms wrapped her waist, and chest hugging hard. I didn't think you'd ever come back here. For you, you'd walk without clothes through hell. Her hold loosens, but only so her hands can pat over me, as if checking that each one of my limbs is still intact. Despite being cracked in certain places, I'm still physically whole. She heaves a sigh and steps back, dropping her arms to clutch my hands. Let's go inside and talk. You boys stay out here. I need time alone with your sister. They listen to Mom's command without question. 27 years and I still haven't figured out a way to get them to follow my orders like that. In their minds, I'm still a helpless pre-teen. Inside the cabin, Mom puts on a pot of water to boil while I pack up the crafting supplies that litter half the table. As she carries our mugs over, I can't keep my mouth shut anymore. You came back. She smiles wide, but her eyes tense as if she's in pain. Is that really so shocking? Even as she sets the tea down in front of me, I ignore it. It's been almost 8 months since Minnie died. Plus, all the time since you left. Did you ever visit my mother? Normally the bright star glittering at the center of whatever room she's in seems dim. She stares off to the side, eyes focused on nothing. No, she murmurs. Well then. I wrap my hands around the mug. What changed your mind? Now she looks at me. I came for you. Why, I mean, I know I got hurt, but it's not like I'm bedridden. Mom studies me for a moment, and I shift in my seat, as if I have something to hide. But I don't. I'd aunt. A brand called to tell you about the accident. I already knew this now. He called again, to talk about something else. My teeth clench, grinding down hard, imagining what he must be gone running to our mom about. No, sweetheart, don't be mad at him. He called because she hesitates, gaze flicking around the room. This version of my mother is strange. She's the most confident person I know. She never holds back. She lives life like it gave her lemons and she discovered that was her favorite fruit. Equality I also admire in Warner. Don't think about him. He called me to ask more about the Dark Moon Riders, Part 73 Zoe. At the mention of Warner's club, I can't keep still anymore. What I said to him, what I did to us, is still too fresh. So I stand, and I pace. My ankle throbs with each step, but I deserve the pain. Did you tell him no? That's not something your brothers need to know about. It is if they keep trying to fight them. The old floorboards creak under my agitated feet. So what new insights did you hand out? Turns out, I'm still smarting from her keeping me in the dark. I didn't. She watches me move, and I feel like an injured field mouse avoiding the attention of a hawk. I asked him to tell me what HED learned. He told me about Warner. When she says his name, I try not to flinch. I fail. He talked about a biker that follows his baby sister around like a puppy. A man who looked ready to commit murder when he found out you'd been hurt. A man who makes you throw glitter and moon over him like HS a block of cheese. A reluctant smile forms on my mouth at her description. But she's not done. A guy who seems to expect you to stay in Pine Falls for longer than just the month or so it takes to sell this place. This time I'm able to stifle my flinch, but just barely. Well, witch, well, you don't need to worry about that. I just told him I can't stay. Why not? I almost trip. Her words a slippery banana peel in my path. What do you mean? Why not? You want me to move to Pine Falls. It never claimed to want that. But children move away from their families all the time. Across the country. Across the world. It's not like you'd be the first. The idea sounds so reasonable when she says it. Still, I shake my head. Maybe that works for some people. But you know how I get. How different I am than you all. She crunches her nose. You all. What does that mean? Come on. Mom and the introverted black sheep in the family. You all seek each other out, while I'm one step from a hermit. So what? So you know how I am. I get lost. Cut myself off from the world. Zoe. The amused exasperation in her tone frustrates me. She doesn't get it. You all drop everything to come save me. And I hate it. Mainly because I keep needing it. Sweetheart. No, we're not saving you. We're loving you. Words don't come easy as I try to explain something about myself I can't even fully grasp. We know how strong you are. My mom reaches out to clasp my hand. And we also know that your mind lies to you sometimes. That it tells you that you don't deserve happiness. We're here to remind you that you do. And that you're loved. Mom tilts her head toward the front porch. And I hear the strains of Maren Morris, The Bones. The same song I had on repeat the week leading up to my leaving for Pine Falls. To be honest, I think they needed to see you more than you needed them. They hell, Mom. My fingers curl into claws around their invisible collective neck. It never really strangled them. Only in my imagination. They piss me off so much. She chuckles but tries to stifle the reaction when I glare at her. It's disheartening. Having to choose to live with their constant smothering just so I don't drown. Humor leaves her then. And she squeezes my palm. You won't drown. Sweetheart. I promise you. You don't know. Mom, I feel like there's only one person who does. And she's gone. But maybe I can make my mother understand. I pull free and hobble away. Toward the back bedroom. The boombox sits beside the bed. I grab it. And the precious wooden box full of decades-old tapes. Returning to the kitchen. I found these. Do you recognize them? After gently placing the box in front of my mom, I set the stereo up on the counter, plugging it in. These they're not. When I turn, she has a tape in her hand, staring at it like she's cradling a ghost. I limp over, choosing another from the collection at random and popping it into the player. After a moment, we hear a voice. Good morning, Colorado. It's your girl. Silly Selena back with the best beats in town, seeing the shimmer in my mom's eyes. I stop the tape. They're all you. Everyone. Grandma Minnie listened to you. She loved you, but you never spoke. I sigh, collapsing into a chair across from my mom. Living here, I can see myself drifting away, just like she did. My mom is quiet for some time, her fingers tracing over all the tapes. I understand. Zoe, where you're coming from I understand. But it's not the same thing. I huff, but she waves to keep me quiet. You know some of my childhood. That my father died in a motorcycle accident. That your grandmother kept me secluded. That I left when I was 8 and never looked back. She sucks in a bracing breath. And I find myself reaching for my tea. But that's just a rough outline. You deserve the whole story. Part 70 for Zoe. Selena Gunner settles into her chair. Her voice taking on a quality that has thousands of people tuning into her radio show every morning. My mom knows how to captivate an audience. And am not immune. Your grandfather was a friendly man. I'm sure if you ask anyone in town who knew him, they'd say the same. He was on the town council. He was a volunteer firefighter. He played with a band at the local bars. And some weekends, he would take his bike out of the garage and go on long rides with the local motorcycle club. Grandpa was a werewolf. I clutch my chest as expecting to find a sudden growth of hair there, displaying my supernatural lineage. Mom chuckles. Though he wasn't. But back then, there wasn't as much of a separation between the wolves and the townspeople. Back then, everyone knew. They all got along just fine. Strains of music drift in from the front porch. My brother's smoothly sliding into some bluegrass. The sound is naturally soothing and has my muscles relaxing without thought. But it does nothing to stifle my curiosity. What happened? Mom takes a sip of her drink before powering on. The night before my 6th birthday, your grandfather went out on a ride. He didn't come back. Around midnight, Minnie got a call. Apparently, it was an accident with a tractor trailer. It ran multiple bikes off the road. Of course, all the other riders were werewolves. They were hurt but healed quickly. My father was the only one who died. I try to imagine my mom as a girl, small and vulnerable, but she's so much larger than life. I struggle with the idea. By all accounts, it was the club's fault. But your grandmother got it in her head that they were responsible. that the love of her life would still be alive if it weren't for the pack. But it was the truck. Before I'm done speaking, she's already nodding yes. Still, when you lose someone you love, you don't always react rationally. Minnie went into overprotection mode. She had two people in her life she loved, and one was gone. So she clutched me closer. She cut off contact with everyone who was necessary. Holmes called me, forbade trips into town if she didn't accompany me. Her anger and distrust of the wolves affected some townspeople, and later I learned the pack leader felt responsible. He also pulled his people back, not wanting to be the cause of any more civilian deaths. The knowledge of this hits me hard. My family is the catalyst for the lines drawn through Pine Falls. The divide traces back to this event, the night my grandfather died on the Wolves' Watch. You see, sweetheart, your grandmother didn't drift away because she was introverted. She ripped herself away because she was grieving, and she sighs a sad breath. I do think she suffered from some mental issues. She digs her thumbnail into the wood grain of the table. It took me a while to understand my mother. Too long. By the time I started to work through what made her the way she was, I was already pregnant with a Bram. I reached out to Minnie, and she came up for his birth. But she only stayed long enough to hear his name and to give me a blanket. Then she said it made my choices, and it'd be best if we kept to our separate ways. That's harsh. Sadness clutches at my chest. I can't imagine what I would do if my mom told me to keep away from her. It was, and I fell back into my resentment as easily as a pair of well-worn jeans. But I can't help thinking she didn't mean what she implied. That secretly, my choosing to leave was something she approved of. I don't understand. My mom's smile is sad. After years of being kept secluded, I was adept at sneaking out. And sure, you know, it's only a few miles down the road. The rabbit hole, the rabbit hole. I murmur. She nods. I met a young man there. A werewolf. He was kind and handsome and nothing like the monster Minnie described. I was furious with her for painting a horrifying picture of the wolves, and I was looking for a way to rebel. So I kept sneaking out to see him. You dated a werewolf. Like mother, like daughter. For a little while. But then I turned 18, and I was accepted to college in Denver. I realized that dating him, riding on the back of his motorcycle, sneaking beers in the woods, that was all me searching for freedom from Minnie Esphere. But I wouldn't really be free until I left. And the guy, he wanted me to stay, to be his mate. But he was the love of my life. For a little while, I worried that he might be, that I might have left a great love behind. But then I met your father a year later and realized what true love is. She reaches out to tuck a loose strand of hair behind my ear. What I meant to say is, I think Minnie knew I was sneaking out. She was probably terrified that I was getting close to the wolves. So when I left, even though I left her behind, I also left them behind. I think she would have rather given up the chance to see me than risk me associating with the pack. The image my mother describes of my grandmother isn't exactly flattering, but it does give me another perspective to consider. And yet, the end result is still a rift that left the woman in Pine Falls lonely and cut off. I feel like saying here would be choosing to give you all up. I admit, maybe you're right. I'm not the same as Minnie, but I'm also not the same as you. You snuck out of windows for chance at freedom. I wall myself up. Without my brother's badgering. Who's to say what happened in college won't happen again? I don't think I can do this alone. Even thinking about that time in my past makes my chest tight. What would Warner think of that version of me? Logically, I know depression is a disease, that it's not my fault, but I can't help the shame that cuts at my nerves when I imagine him witnessing me in my darkest place. Sweetheart, listen, just for a minute. Sit here with me and listen. I have been. Mom puts her finger to my lips, cutting me off. I roll my eyes, but shut my mouth, bracing for her next argument. Ready to rebut with more explanations of how different I am from my family. We can't be viewed through the same lens. Their rib-crushing hugs, while tight smiles. They're permanent markers. and light pencil lines. Their vibrant life, and I keep to the shadows. I have all these words ready to go, but with no chance to use them because my mother doesn't speak. She sits still and watches me. The only sound comes from the front porch where my brothers harmonize their instruments, playing a folk song I recognize as one they commonly choose to warm up with. The music takes me to our backyard at family picnics and dingy bars where I ferry beers to the stage. Don't you hear it? Mom asks, her eyes boring into mine. The music, the love. Her long fingers cut my cheek. They're all here. Did you ask them to come? I shake my head, a thick lump in my throat hindering my ability to speak. And you'll never have to. Wherever you go, they'll find you. We'll all find you. Her face splits into a wide, teasing grin. Our smothering is international. You think a couple hours' drive will stop them? Suddenly, I have to blink rapidly. My mother leans forward in her chair, holding all of my attention. If you love that man, and you're leaving him because you're worried about losing us, don't. You could be in the middle of Denver, living in the house next door to mine, and still be oceans away. The thought of you breaking your own heart, that's what scares me. I've seen what a broken heart does to women in our family. I think if you came back to Denver, we might lose you more than we would if you were far away. And now that she says it, I can see that too. The idea of returning to my tiny apartment in Denver, without the hope of seeing Warner again, sets off more of those horrible cracks in my chest. Never feeling his warm body against mine. Never watching him smile while I ask my questions. Never hearing his laugh again. Or his growl. H.S. my wolf. Mind. This pain. A deep ache in my chest. This is drowning. I turned down everything he offered for fear of becoming my grandmother. But I already am her. She turned away from love. Just like him doing. The image of Warner's devastated face blares in my mind, threatening to crush me with panicked regret. Have I destroyed my chance at happiness? Just like she did. I told him to find someone else. The admission comes out on a whisper. My mother covers my fisted hands with her own. Sweetheart, compared to you, there is no one else. Part 75 Warner. As I pace around my apartment, I avoid looking in any mirrors. I don't want to see how black my eyes are. Funny. I never thought falling in love with a person would bring out so many dark feelings. Love is supposed to be great. Lift you up. Make you feel like you're invincible. At least, that's what people tell you. But in finding that love feels a whole lot like misery. Chess leaving. The thought makes me want to howl. My wolf thrashes under my skin, demanding release. The urge to transform tempts me. To run through the woods until I forget what it's like to be human. Forget what it means to hurt. But something keeps me here. In this stifling room. I wrench open a window, just so I can breathe under the suffocating weight of losing her. As I continue circling my apartment, an itch to tear the place apart grows. There's nothing obviously wrong with the space. I've bought comfortable couches, mounted a decent-sized TV on the wall. The kitchen is clean and well stocked, but as I stare around, I can't help thinking of it as a black hole of emptiness. Because Shess not here. There are pieces of her. The scarf she crocheted for me hangs by the door alongside my new, decorated helmet. The sparkly beret I unclipped from her hair the first time we slept together sits in the middle of the coffee table, reminding me to give it back. I scowl, knowing I'm never giving that little bit of her up. Not if Shess leaving me. Each piece feels like a shout into an echoing cavern. A glaring reminder that my home, my life, doesn't have her in it any longer. I try to imagine tomorrow, and the next day, and a week from now. Every time that I will come back here, and there will be no Zoe, just me, and this empty apartment. I can't. The thought digs into me, and am brought back to the first night I saw her, sitting at the bar, drinking bourbon while she slipped her little hook through yarn. Just like I knew there was no possible future that involved her leaving the rabbit hole without me talking to her. I know now there can be no future where I live without her. But she won't stay. So that means I have to go with her. Once the idea forms in my head, I know it's the right one. Not necessarily the easiest, but it's right. Here I have my pack. But who am I to say my pack is more important than her family? I was asking her to leave her loved ones behind, without considering taking that route myself. Zoe even offered to try long distance, and I threw that back in her face. Just dismissed the possibility, as if she wasn't worth the effort. When really, she's worth everything. Zoe probably doubts that I ever cared for her. My fingers tangle in my hair, tugging at the strands as a growl vibrates in my chest. I never considered compromising. I asked her to give up her family plus a better situation for her job, and demanded she live in a town where I'm almost sure someone wants to hurt her. Who would say yes to that? What kind of man am I? If only there was a way to go back in time and challenge my dense self. More growls spill from my throat, as if Warner from a few hours ago is standing in front of me. But HES not. It's just me and my realization that I've made a mess of the best thing to come into my life. I need to fix this. As I stalk to my bedroom, I pull my cell phone out and dial a familiar number. While it rings, I grab a duffel bag and start filling it. Warner is my brother's only greeting. Roderick, can you come by the store? I've got something important I need to tell you. Part 76. Warner. When I step through the front door of the shop, I find more than just my older brother waiting for me. I'm not surprised at the sight of my mom behind the register. It is her store after all. My uncle lounging beside her isn't out of the ordinary either. What has my steps slowing is the sight of my baby sister and brother relaxing on a display bench. Tanya and Isaac aren't the handiest of the gunners, and my sister has been avoiding working at the family business since Mom declared it was time she started earning a paycheck. Apparently, this is now a family meeting. On second thought, this should make everything easier. Tell everyone my decision at once, instead of having to repeat myself or risk anything getting lost in translation. Roderick is examining a new electric handsaw when I come in, but he immediately returns it to the shelf and gives me his full attention. He doesn't have to say anything for me to know I can spill my whole plan whenever I'm ready. I open my mouth, but in her usual fashion, Tanya speaks first. Warner, she whines. Why are we all here? I've got stuff to do. Her teenage dramatics make me grin. I only asked to talk to Roderick. Yeah, but he was giving me a ride to the bowling alley. Megan is going to go batshit if I'm late. My little sister always knows how to wrench the spotlight out of someone else's hands in order to make sure it's solely on her. Most 17-year-olds could drive themselves. I point out. Only the ones that haven't rear-ended cop cars. Isaac mutters, earning himself a melting glare from his twin. The varsity soccer team was running on the side of the road, shirtless. That's worse driving conditions than a Category 5 hurricane. The cop is lucky all I did was rear and his piece of shit cruiser. A snort sounds from behind the counter, and I glance over to catch my uncle massaging away a smile with the tips of his fingers. Mom, meanwhile, ignores our bickering in favor of inventory, or checking receipts, or something else that involves staring intently at the paper in front of her rather than acting as mediator between her children. I'll drive you after I hear what Warner has to say. Roderick remains his focused, unmovable self, not bothered in the slightest versus complaining. Fine, she huffs, retrieving her cell phone from her back pocket and using the screen to ignore us. Isaac leans his head back as if HES going to take a nap. But I know better. HES quiet, unassuming, lacking the intimidating factor that is a necessary piece of Roderick's makeup, but that only allows Isaac to hear and see more than the rest of us do. He passes around town unobtrusively, so he knows things. My guess is HES wiser than most other 17-year-olds. Probably more than most people 3 times his age. 2 will miss him when I'm gone. I'll miss all of them, but not as much as I miss Zoe. I love my family, but I don't need them the way I need her. In only a few weeks, she's become the one for me. My partner. So much a part of me that the idea of losing her is on the same level as having one of my limbs ripped off. But that's how it is for wolves. When we love, we do it deeply. My only hope is that this knowledge will help my family understand my decision in leaving Pine Falls. No one was speaking before I made the declaration. But still, the shop suddenly seems a hell of a lot more quiet. Roderick is the first to respond. She won't stay. My brother sounds regretful, but not as if he plans on challenging my choice. This isn't her place, of course it isn't. My mom growls. Her fierce input has me rocking back on my heels. I knew she wouldn't like the idea of me moving. But damn, her voice comes out so sharp it stings. She doesn't know us. She doesn't know our ways. Mom continues with a snarl, abandoning her receipts and stalking out from behind the counter. Tanya isn't staring at her phone anymore, and Isaac leans forward in his seat, eyes fixed on our mother. We all know she has a temper, but something about this reaction seems different, more intense. Honestly, I don't care. She knows me. I say, does that sound like a line from a cheesy movie or what? Mom scoffs. Knows you. Come on. Warner. Shess pretty. I'll give you that. And charming. I'm sure that I can guarantee, if you let her, that girl will destroy you. She'll smash your heart. Probably won't even realize it. One day, she'll just decide she doesn't need you anymore. And then she'll walk out. The surety in her voice throws me off. Mom talks like Shess an expert on the subject. Like she knows everything there is to know about Zoe. Only, the person Shess describing sounds nothing like the woman I love. Where is this coming from? You've barely even talked to her. A growl rides my voice. An urge to defend my future mate seeping out from my wolf. Shess a gunner. That's what gunner girls do. They leave. Rebecca. Uncle Mason looks distinctly uncomfortable. And I can't help remembering my guess about his and Zoe's mother's relationship. But am not concerned with the past, only the future. I'm not arguing that. But when she leaves, I'm going with her. As my mother opens her mouth, eyes gaining fire, a loud knock rings out from the side of the building. Well, loud for werewolves. A human might not have picked up on it from this distance, but I hear it without effort. Along with the desperate words that follow. Warner, your bike is parked in the alley, so I know you're here. You are here, right? Part 77's OE. My knocking sounds angry. Is there a way to knock urgently that doesn't sound like you're in the middle of a temper? Doesn't matter. Warner will find out I'm not angry when he gets the hell out of his apartment and comes to talk to me. Okay. I might be a little angry, but not at my werewolf. I'm angry at myself. How could I have walked away? What was I thinking telling Warner to go find someone else? The idea of him dating another woman, kissing another woman, makes me want to break down this door. Not that I think HES upstairs with some sexy werewolf lady. Hopefully, he would need more than half a day to move on. But there's no answer. I step back, staring up at one of the windows of his apartment. Warner, your bike is parked in the alley, so I know you're here. Unless you walk somewhere. You are here, right? Am I yelling at the side of a building for no reason? Who gives a fuck? My fist raises to pound again when a voice stops me. I'm here. I turn, and there he is, stepping around the corner of the building, staring at me with wide eyes. His leather vest is on top of a white t-shirt. My werewolf biker. At least, I hope HES still mine. Did you come down the other stairs just to pull some sneaky shit on me? I cross my arms and affect a glare. His eyes trace over me. No, I was in the shop. Kittench. I mumble as I stare at him. HES, oh perfect. I mean, not perfect. One of his eyes opens a little wider than the other. There's a chip on his left canine, and his hair is disheveled in a way that was clearly not the product of styling gel. Plus, he tends to make jokes in serious situations, and helps people to the point that he overextends himself, and he tried to push a lifetime commitment on me after only a handful of weeks. So HES not perfect. HES just perfect for me. Are you knocking on my door for a reason? Warner's smile comes hesitantly. I hate it. Hate that HES holding himself back. That first night. The biker guy didn't know me, but he still walked right up to my side. Multiple times. Inserting himself in my life when I was still trying to figure my life out. I want that unwarranted confidence back. So badly. I decide to skip a few steps. I need to apologize, but can I kiss you first? Warner steps toward me, his eyes now hot. You never have to ask. I pounce on him, or at least, I try to pounce. Unfortunately, my sore ankle has me stumbling face first into his chest, and I gasp in pain as I try to use the hand with my broken wrist to grasp his shirt before I slide down to the pavement. Don't hurt yourself, Warner scolds, quick to grip me under my armpits in a not very romantic hold. He sets me on my good leg and wraps an arm around my waist to support some of my weight. That was supposed to be a much sexier move. I was envisioning jumping into your arms and wrapping my legs around you. That sounds appealing in every way possible. But let's put that on hold until you get some more healing under your belt. Warner grins down at me, smoothing stray hairs away from my face. I was wrong, I proclaim, before he can respond. I use my good hand to clutch the back of his neck and bring his face down to mine in a searing kiss. At the taste of him, the feel of his sturdy body against mine, my proclamation is proven fact. How could I have thought for a second to give this up? To give him up? I love my family, but they're a sure thing. I realize that now. I could move to China, and my brothers would come by plane or boat or teleportation machine to force their overbearing love on me. Warner doesn't have to follow me, and I shouldn't ask him to. What Warner needs is for someone to fight for him, to choose him, to love him. I cup his face, pulling myself away more than am pushing him back. I could kiss him until the next apocalyptic event ravaged the earth, and then I'd only pause for a moment to check if there were any zombies nearby before returning to his tempting mouth. But I hurt him, and he deserves another Gunner apology. This seems to be a habit for me, one I plan on breaking this man as happy as possible. I'm sorry. Water. Zoe, he goes to interrupt me, but I cover his mouth with my hand, staring intently up at him. Let me say this. After waiting for his nod, I continue. You asked me to be your mate, to be with you forever. That's heavy, and it scared me. I don't think I was wrong to be nervous about that. His eyes get sad, and I push on. I'm not always healthy. Hell, I didn't think it would be this hard to say. There's an urge to use metaphors, or skirt around the topic, but I want the word out there. It needs to be said. I need to say it. For the last few years, tears are in my throat, but I swallow them down. IVE battled depression. Warner's entire body tenses. Then, treating me as if I were formed from spun glass, my werewolf slowly gathers me into a hug that presses the entire length of my body against his, with my head tucked under his chin. A surge of comfort and confidence overcome me, and talking about it becomes easier. It hit me for the first time in college. I was away from my family, and I don't know if that triggered it or what. But things got bad. When my brothers didn't hear from me for a while, they got worried and made a surprise visit. I was practically comatose. They brought me back to Denver, convinced me to transfer schools and talk to a professional. That helped. So did medication. I draw in a deep, bracing breath, but am not cured because there's no permanent fix. And I worry all the time that I'll have a bad episode like I did then, and I won't be able to pull myself out of it. You want to be in Denver because of your brothers, because they de-recognize it. They would know how to help you. Warder doesn't ask. I press my face against his chest. I came to Pine Falls to test out living without my family all the time. Their love is a gift, but sometimes I felt suffocated by it. I mean, you've met my brothers. You know what I'm saying, right? The brush of his chin against the top of my head tells me HES nodding. I didn't come here to add more love to my plate. Sucking in a deep breath, I pull back to meet Warner's eyes, making sure HE's listening. But you didn't care about my plans, did you? You infuriating werewolf. Growling through my smile. You made me fall for you. Damn it. Warner. I love you. Hope sparks in his gaze. But he holds still. He needs more, and I plan on giving it to him. Your love doesn't smother me because you listen to me. You're this wildly powerful supernatural creature, but I've never felt crushed by you. My thumb traces his bottom lip, but when you said mate, I panicked. I'm scared. Scared that he'll make plans for the future, and they'll come crashing down if I get sick again. Pain creases the corners of Warner's eyes as he cups my face. I stare up at him with determination, with love, but I realize something. I wrap my fingers around his wrists, holding him to me. I'm stronger now, and smarter. What happened in college was bad because I didn't expect it. Cal didn't plan for it, but now I know how to take care of myself. My ankle smarts as I raise up on my tiptoes to brush a soft kiss against his lips. And I know if I start drowning again, you'll be the one to see it. And I trust you to help me keep my head above water. Always, Zoe, always. He growls the word, eyes fierce. The sight warms every bit of me, even as it renews my guilt for how I treated him. I'm so sorry for doubting you, for rejecting your affection, for saying that I'd leave you. You should have left. You'll do it anyway, so why not go now? The harsh comment makes me flinch, and I realize that Warner and I aren't alone. We have an audience of wolves.